Howdy folks. I want to rant, okay? It's been a while since I made a video. Well, a serious video. But, you know, things have been taking priority, job, kids, family, wife, whatever. So I haven't done a whole lot of gun content, but what I have been doing is I've been testing a lot of flashlights for different purposes. Everyday carry, tactical defensive use, and job site use, because I use lights a lot on the job. I've gone through 10 or 12 different models in the last 2 years. The vast majority of them were garbage. They were garbage. They either lied about output, lied about durability, lied about runtime, or they had a really, really shitty interface. Absolute dog-ass interface. So I've never considered making content about them. I don't recommend them. I'm leaving those ones in the ether. But what I've come down to are these two being my personal preferences for EDC lights. And these two are so close to being perfect. But I'm going to tell you what I hate about them right now. So, first one is my Woobin X4. Now, the Woobin X4 I've been using for quite a while now, and I use this as basically a Swiss Army light. This is like a Swiss Army knife for lights, and I'll show you why. So, it's a 1500 lumen max output, adjustable output, has a side light, and it has a moonlight mode, so low output for little admin stuff. All right, the first setting on the slide, it has a slider here, a rocker slider, that helps you determine or decide which mode you're going to use. Okay, the first one is the side light, which is this guy right here, and with the magnetic base, it allows you to stick this to things and work under that light. Very cool. I use it a lot in attics and stuff when I'm working around ductwork. Very, very useful, very convenient. The second mode on this light right there is going to be the main light output. And that is adjustable. It has a side button here where you push the button to use it, and then it has a adjustment wheel that adjusts the output up or down to your liking. Okay? It'll flash when you hit minimum, and it'll flash when you hit maximum. Pretty simple. And that light is also actuated by the thumb rocker right there, which gives you that momentary full output, okay, which is what you want for a defensive light. You pull it up, you got full output. Very simple. Double tap it, and you get your boomer flash for those boomers that like strobe. All right, cool. Very cool. Love that. And then the last one is the moonlight mode. Now the moonlight mode is, I think it's 5 lumens tops, and it operates off the rocker switch and clicks to stay on. You can click the rocker switch to stay on, or you can actuate it from the front switch. Either one does the same thing. When you're in full mode, this is a momentary only switch. Oops. See, momentary only. It doesn't stay on. It only stays on if you press the front button. Okay, so that's tactical focused. All of that stuff is great. Oh, and also it runs off of standard 18650 batteries, and I've got 100 of these. They're all over the place. So it's easy to swap out, and if you need to and you don't have access to a charger, you can charge it directly through the light right there with the USB-C charger underneath the switch. Okay? Those are all the things that I love about this light. And for an EDC Swiss Army style pocket light, this is one of the best ones I've found. It's very durable. I've dropped this off 3-story roofs to concrete. Doesn't matter. Has a nice little belt, a nice little clip, so it makes a great headlamp. okay? There is one thing that I don't care about. I don't know why lights do this other than for the wow factor, and that is the stepless adjustable output, this right here. I don't give a shit about being able to change from 1500 to 1320 to 917 to 58 to 50 lumens. I don't care. Give me a low, medium, high. Very simple. Low, medium, high, and you can get rid of the rocker. You can get rid of the adjustment wheel. Don't need it. Get rid of it. It's a waste of time, waste of space. Okay. So that I don't really care about. Now it doesn't do anything bad. It's just useless. It's not necessary. What I really don't like about this light is specifically focused on defensive use. And as a defensive use light, the big problem I have with this is that the highest output is on the second to the last setting. That's in the main light setting. Okay. Now the problem with that is, like many of these really high output lights that generate a lot of heat when they get turned on, they have lockout switches. This has a lockout switch, and the lockout switch is all the way back. If I panic flip that switch all the way forward, I'm getting 5 lumens. That's all I get. And there's nothing I can do about it. I can't program it into anything else. I get my little 5 lumens. Woobin, if you ever see this video, I want you to take that little moonlight mode and put it down here, and then put the full power mode up at the very end of the slider switch. So if I have this thing locked in my pocket and I come upon a scenario that I think is going to need some defensive light, I want to be able to just zip that switch down and go. Oh no, I can't. I have to zip it down and then back it off one and hope that I get that setting. I don't like that. Okay, so for defensive use, that's not it. That's not it. All you have to do is take that main power and put it at the end so I can zip that thing down and hit my push button and go. All right? Woobin, take note. Now, for a defensive focused EDC light, again, I've been through a lot of different iterations. I've used a lot of my rifle weapon lights as defensive lights for a long time because they've got lots of output and they have common batteries. Very, very simple. The problem is they're bulky, they're round, they're big. Even when you try to make them compact, you still have that bezel, you still have the reflector, the whole thing. It's big. Now, those reflectors are necessary if you want to be able to pull 100,000 candela out of a light, which is why most, if not, all the reputable weapon lights out there have pretty big bezels, pretty big reflectors, deep reflectors that focus and concentrate light. You don't really need those kinds of reflectors on an everyday carry type of light that's going to be in your pocket for the vast majority of even defensive circumstances. It's better to have a light that's more comfortable to carry, that you're going to carry more often, than it is to have, a Z-bolt with 300,000 candela looking like you've got a second dick in your pocket, okay? Now, some people might like that, but it's not a priority for me. So I've been looking at flat EDC lights to try and find something that will fit that bill easily and give lots of output. Now you've got the stilettos, and Streamlight's got their one, and Olight's got their whatever that is. And then there's a plethora, just an absolute menagerie of Chinese flat cookie cutter flashlights with their RGB, color changing lights on the side, and I've got a blue laser and a pink laser and a UV light so I can see the semen stains on the hotel napkins or whatever. Okay, chill with all that garbage. All I want in a defensive EDC light is durability. This is basically going to parallel how I feel about rifle lights, defensive weapon lights. It needs to be simple, it needs to be durable, and it needs to be quickly accessible. Those are the priorities. That's it. And this right here, the Next Torch TA70, I would say is the closest thing to that perfect blend of features for a defensive focused or even a duty focused, small, compact handheld light. 3,500 lumens, very, very good, very wide, face melting, eye scorching output. I think this is like 18,000 candela. Okay, now you're not going to be reaching out and blinding people at 50, 60 yards like you might with an LEP or with the big Surefire or the top level mod lights. But within your typical pistol engagement distance, this is going to shut down someone's ocular pathways. It shuts your eyes down. So from an output standpoint, plenty of horsepower in this bad boy. It has an integrated therm-style ring, which is phenomenal. It's the perfect location. It's great. It's great for if you're someone that does a lot of you practice your weapon light, using it as a weapon light. It works very, very well. It's integrated, so you don't have to worry about the switch coming off. And the button setup is very, very simple, and you can use it in the dark without even looking at it. Very tactile, very simple. This has two function modes and a lockout, so that it's locked out, and it has the duty mode, and these two functions determine how the thumb switch, which is the only switch on this, which I also like, it turns the thumb switch between constant on and momentary. So in duty mode, it turns it into basically administrative light. So if I push on it, I get low, okay? If I push on again, I get medium, and I push on again, I get high. Very simple, exactly what I was looking for in the Woobin, okay? Now if I click it, now it stays on, and then I can get low, medium, and high. Great. The problem is, if I click it and I'm looking, and I bump it up to high mode, and then I use it with firearm, okay, watching what I'm doing, okay, and then I'm done. But I'm still in the situation, still on scene. Maybe I cleared this room, now I need to go clear another room, something like that. I cannot then just click it back onto high mode. It goes back down to low mode every time. Then I have to cycle medium and then back to high. I don't like that. What I would prefer is that it stays where I clicked it. So if I click it on low and I click it off on low, it stays in low. If I click it medium or high, it stays in that mode. It doesn't do that. You have to cycle it through those modes every time, which is pretty lame. So that would be my first note. My second note is in the TAC mode. The TAC mode gives you full power if you press it, but don't click it, because the button is a two-function button. There's a press function and then a click function. So the press function gives me my full power. The click function gives me strobe, and I don't want strobe. I don't need it. Most people, for defensive handheld lights, weapon lights, what have you, don't need or benefit from strobe. And I wish more light manufacturers would come to understand that. Yes, there are LE situations and departmental protocols that might incorporate some strobe function for certain situations. The typical civilian defensive user doesn't fit that mold. They don't need it. So that's my big gripe. What I wish would happen is if I send it on TAC and I click that, it stays on and it stays bright. So I can sweep my thumb from lock all the way to tactical without even looking at it, and then boom. But I can't do that. What I would prefer is a momentary push and a constant on click of full mode. This doesn't have it, okay? So, all in all, this one is 90% perfect for a defensive light. Form factor, perfect. Integrated loop, perfect. Flat, perfect. 3 LED output with huge face melting power, perfect. But the buttons they're close, but not quite there. So, of these two lights, I prefer for everyday use the Woobin. I use it more, it has more functionality, and the gripes that I do have with it are not as significant as with the Next Torch. If Next Torch could come out with everything exactly the same except for getting rid of the strobe and putting a last setting memory on the duty mode, those would be the two things that would make this perfect. Next Torch, just like I said with Woobin, if you do those two things, this will be the EDC light, defensive light, to beat all defensive lights. Okay? Don't come at me with your Surefire stilettos. Don't come at me with your Streamlight flat stuff. And for the love of God, do not come at me with your bullshit O-lights. Next Torch, fix that shit. Woobin, if you want this light to be taken seriously as a defensive light, just put the highest output at the bottom of the switch. Highest output at the last setting so I can sweep the switch and hit the light. Do that and it will be perfect. There's my rant. I feel better. On to the next one. Later, guys.